Hey everybody, Ryan Williams here, Ion Capital Solutions. Today I'm here with one of our students, Kevin Cicchini. Kevin, thanks so much for being with us here today.
It's a pleasure to be with you as well as also the viewers.
Great, thank you, thank you. Excited to share an important topic with you guys today, in addition to discussing the experience for Kevin. Um, Time management is something that's a very important topic when you first get involved in something new. The reason is you don't speak the language, you're unfamiliar with the workflow, the terminology. And so especially in an environment like this where you're trying to find out where the shiny object is, the commission, right? And how to get to it. When somebody starts talking to you about an opportunity, i.e.,
hmm
a borrower who wants money for their business, immediately you hold on to that client and that opportunity as though that's the shiny object and that money's going to come from it, right? But what we need
Right.
to understand is this is a numbers game and you're going to be talking to lots of clients. And if you give everyone an equal amount of attention, you only have so much time in the day, right? So you have to be able to differentiate which is a good client, what's worth spending time on, what's not worth spending time on, how to know whether or not this is a good opportunity, what are the associated survey questions that I need to ask that client, what are the answers I need to understand, what documents do I need to collect, how does this work, how do I get to that shiny object, to that commission, right? And how do I know what
Right.
to scrap off my plate early on so I can refocus attentions? And hey, how do I even market myself so I can get to have these opportunities? So anyway, that's
hmm
what we're talking about today, everybody. So anyway, again, Kevin, thanks for being here. Kevin, if we could start off with you just giving us a little bit of background of where you came from leading into this.
I've kind of been all over the place throughout my 20s. I graduated with a finance degree. I did a little bit of construction. I worked in restaurants. I did real estate. Specifically, I wasn't a real estate agent, but I did do real estate lead generation. I also did solar sales, so lots of cold calling, and was not my favorite thing in the world, the cold calling. When I came into this, I was looking to try to avoid that to the degree that I could, and I part of what attracted me was the multi-platform lead generation
Mm-hmm.
strategy
Mm-hmm.
that you sort of taught me through the modules and also through just speaking with you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because at first, I wasn't sure where to start when it came to this. My friend actually brought me here. He did the research to figure out which loan brokering institution would be the best place to start. And I guess I don't know how specific I should get on here, but there were a few different options. And from what I could tell, it seemed like this was the real quality option. And we went back and forth on that. But when I first started at Ion Capital Solutions, I wasn't sure what to do with just the breadth of the
Right,
information. It
it's a
was
lot
like
of
completely
information.
overwhelming. Exactly.
Yeah, yep.
So at first, what I tried to do was just learn everything like you would a textbook all at once, like the different loan products and everything. But it was just this undifferentiated mass of information, and it just like wouldn't stick properly. And I still have tons and tons to learn in terms of specifics, but at least I have an outline now because you kind of directed me towards marketing first.
Mm-hmm.
You said that basically you want to start with gathering clients. Once you have sufficient background, basic information, you want to start gathering potential clients, and then you'll sort of learn through the process of qualifying those potential clients. And so, I learned the multi-platform lead generation strategy. That took me a couple of weeks to kind of get down. And then from there, I moved on to the learning how to start qualifying the leads that I was getting from that strategy. And like you said, actually, I believe at the beginning, you were talking about, the shiny object syndrome almost that you get from a single potential lead, right? You get your first one, and especially if it's an enticing deal, you think about like the commission you could
When you start
possibly
counting
get
the
from
commission,
that,
right?
and you're like,
Right.
I need to hold on to this with everything that I have. And the problem with that psychologically, I mean, you see in many other arenas, is that it's almost like the more you value an individual thing, the more you put all your eggs in one basket. It's like the more likely it is that that basket's going to fall over
Right.
and all your eggs are going to
Right.
break.
Right.
It's
The laws
like
of attraction. Yeah.
exactly. It's like the more detached and outcome independent you get per individual deal, the better off you're going to be. And ironically, the more likely that individual deal will also go through. And I knew this concept going in, but it's still almost impossible to resist
Of
the
course.
urge,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And so like I understood this intellectually, but it didn't like viscerally penetrate until a
Right.
few of these, kind of
Sure.
fell through, and then I had to, reorient
Yep.
properly.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But that's part of the process, and the point you were making before about just the mass of information and trying to get it down and understand this. And we always direct everybody, just do a quick first pass. Don't study, don't memorize. Some people, though, they
Hmm.
want to memorize. They want to read it like a textbook and try and get it all down. There's too much nuance in this business to do that, right? At the end of the
Right.
day, you just need to keep it simple, get a foundation, get your marketing rolling, get some conversations going with clients, start to qualify, and then the unique scenario you will learn, right? You'll learn, oh,
Right.
okay, this is the type of borrower we're dealing with. These are the product. This is the product or the products that we could package together to help this client. Or here's why we can't help this client at all, right? And through that repetition, you start to learn more and more and more. And then the next person you talk
Hmm.
to, you're that much more prepared to communicate with them. But at the same time,
Exactly.
you're still marketing. You're still bringing in
Hmm.
opportunities. Because if you only give yourself one or two opportunities and they fall through, you got nothing. But if you
Absolutely.
consistently bring in more and more opportunities, it doesn't matter what's falling to the wayside. It's not about the many that don't, it's about the few that do. But that's only going to come with consistency, right? And so one of the things that you started to learn pretty quickly was, okay, wait a minute. Is this a prospect worth my time? All the phone calls I'm getting on with the client that I'm getting on with Ryan, and I'm happy. I'm always happy to talk to you and hop on calls and respond. And because you need, whether we fund the deal or not, you need attention and you need support and you need to have these conversations to become that animal that you need to be successful. But ultimately, you know, how do I determine whether or not this is worth my time? And if it's not, I need to get right back on to my next fish, right?
Exactly.
And fishing's fun because all of a sudden you catch a big fish, right?
Right.
I remember, I think I used the actual phrase to you just the other day. Nice fish, dude, right?
Yeah.
When you had
Yeah.
that RV park and deals on wheels, RV parks, mobile homes, lenders don't like them except for specialized lenders that focus in on that. And they've got to
Hmm.
match the right criteria. And we happen to come across an RV park contractor that does lots of them, not just one, but lots of them in
Right.
the 7-figure, 8-figure range. That's a good lead. Those are big
Yeah.
deals, right? And we have the right lenders. We have interest. We're in the middle of the data room and exciting opportunity, right? That never would have happened if you weren't doing your marketing. You wouldn't even been able to comprehend what they needed in the first place if you didn't go
Right.
through those initial conversations, right? And so you've got to take the wins where they are, right? I'm up, I'm marketing, that's a win. I have interest, that's a win. Someone was disqualified, that's a win. You learned whether or not it was a fundable deal. This person does qualify, that's a win. You finally found a fish that makes sense, right? That works for you. And then
Exactly.
all of the nuance that you'll end up encountering. This person needs secured funding. This one wants a hard money loan. Here's a purchase. This is a residential purchase. This is a commercial purchase. This is a mobile home park, right? This is a consolidation. There's so many different avenues. You can't learn all that by reading a book, right?
No, definitely not. Because you don't internalize it.
Yeah,
Because it sort of goes in one ear and out the other, and maybe you can regurgitate it. But I think our minds are sort of adapted in such a way that you only truly retain a holistic understanding of that which you interact with,
right,
that which you use.
right,
And like when people learn things through textbooks exclusively, I think what ends up happening is that they don't develop that holistic understanding. They just sort of match vague concepts with definitions,
right,
right? And they sort of just memorize.
right.
And there's a big difference between memorization and true understanding.
Sure, and I think ultimately, if you're left to your own devices to try and read and then just jump into the marketplace and do it on your own, there's that disconnect. Because to your point, you're just trying to define everything that you come across with a term, or somebody says it uses a term that you don't know how to define. You're like, I don't even know what, I can't comprehend what
Exactly.
they're saying. So let's talk about support, right?
Hmm.
Having a person that you can have a dialogue with to just discuss this stuff, even outside of the deal with the client,
Hmm.
let alone having a person that you can also get on the phone with your client, have that harder conversation that's just a bit over your head, is really
Right.
everything. Because
I think
without
it's
that,
essential.
yeah, go right, it's essential, right? Without having that opportunity, you're just going to struggle. And so one of the things that you mentioned when you first did your intro here into the call was that you were trying to find the right program for you. And there's a
Hmm.
lot of programs out there, especially blueprint programs. Wink, wink to anybody that has heard of a blueprint in this space. Um, there is no support. There's just
No,
a Facebook group where you can ask a question, kind of thing. Yeah, or they
like
try.
that's what I was trying to avoid because I
Yes.
had been actually not in this industry, but in other industries that I've tried out. Because I haven't mentioned all the things I've tried out because I sort of am entrepreneurial set in the sense that I've always wanted to do something in the entrepreneur space. And so I've wasted a lot of money on programs before that, they didn't give you any support. And so I was very pleasantly, not even, I guess I shouldn't say pleasantly surprised because I was expecting it because I really did the research this time.
Hmm.
But I was, let's say, satisfied that this time I'm finally getting the support, really the mentorship
Hmm.
that I was looking for in the other programs that I've tried. That's what you actually get here, which I think you said is essential.
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, you said it was essential, right?
You're
And
right.
that's important for the viewer, right? Because your mindset and your experience is likely in many ways going to be similar to their own, and they're going to
Hmm.
want to know that, right? So
Right.
perhaps anybody watching right now, you're asking yourself, am I going to be on alone on an island trying to figure this out? No. So much, in fact, that the guy who runs the show, right, so to speak, I'm
Hmm.
talking to you. We have a working relationship. We continue to work together. We talk about deals. We talk about you personally. I'm live on the call with clients. I mean, what other
Every single
program does
day.
that? Yeah. What other program has that? And that's because, and this is an important distinction, we don't onboard 200 people a month. We're not looking to just make money by bringing as many people into the program as we
Hmm.
can. That's not our model. We're at the end
Right.
of the day, we're working on deals. It's about making money on these deals together, right?
Right.
As opposed to most other programs, especially blueprint programs, which is let's get as many people in the door as we can, get them all to pay at the door, get them all to just buy and build and buy and build and upsell and up. You ran out of time, you ran out of support, and it's just a slow bleed,
Right.
right? And that's not what we do here. And so that's why Kevin and I have so much to talk about on this call, because we do in fact have that working relationship. We are in fact working together in the marketplace, and I mean we got deals we're working on right now. Just one came across the our desk today, a secured
Yes.
funding deal, which came from your email marketing campaign, and there was a little bit. We dealt with a client who's dealing with what? Too many merchant cash advances.
Right.
Shocker, right? And it's funny because a lot of other programs are just trying to get you to push a merchant cash advance, which
Hmm.
every business owner has one, can't get another one, doesn't want one at all. And if that's all you're offering, you're dead in the water. And so what is he really seeking? Help. How do I get out of this
Right.
situation? But for you, Now the lesson is, well, how do I actually help this person? And what are the components they need to be able to get out of that situation? So we talked about secured funding. We talked about a new formula that you're working on, right? Which is loan to value ratio and how to calculate it, and the ultimately how much equity is available and whether or not the
Yeah,
LTV
that
works
real
well,
estate,
right?
and I suppose it goes something like, because I'm learning this today, that real estate equity is probably going to be the largest asset that someone owns, right?
Absolutely.
Just so happens to be the case. So you can sort of draw from that equity
Mm-hmm.
in someone's real estate as almost like collateral for an additional loan to maybe settle those uh, MCAs, those stacked MCAs.
Exactly right. And there's some free training for everybody here. There's some nuance to that, right? Because you have to consider the loan to value ratio. Just because they have $300,000 worth of equity doesn't mean they can get a $300,000 loan. You need to consider the lender's LTV, right? Which typical is around 65% if you're looking at a high risk consolidation, right? You have to also consider debt. You have to subtract the debt. What's the balance on the mortgage to get to the actual amount that's available, right? And then you need to consider the loan amount, right? At the end of the day, I need X amount of dollars to pay off my MCAs. Well, if they wanted $200,000 and they have $200,000 in stacked MCAs, you can't do that. There's the net 50 rule. Only 50% of the loan can go towards paying off MCAs. The rest has to go towards the business, right? And so does that work for the client? Because ultimately, the money's got to work the way that they need it, right? So if it's all debt consolidation and payoff and there's nothing left over, it's not going to work for the lender. On the borrower's side, if they need to net additional capital to be able to expand, new hires, fill inventory, whatever, if they're required to pay off MCAs and they're only left with a small amount of money that doesn't cover the problem, well then it doesn't work for them either, right? So it's helping them understand, how can I use this money? Okay, let me take out some of the debt, right? At the same time, let me put more money towards things that are ultimately going to drive revenue, right? Which is the point, the plan. And so that's a lot of nuance for one deal, right? And so hence the support and hence the ongoing learning. And anyway, you're doing a great job, Kevin. And every day it seems we're looking at a new funding application from you, right? There's a new opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate that. I mean, I've been working hard to try to improve each day. And taking in additional information is part of that, because I mean, I've been used to working on real estate investment deals, and not as much yet on the business side, although I'm starting to dig my teeth into that as well. And I would say for me, because I don't see myself as too great on the phone, let's say, like it's not my specialty, at least. Obviously I've done it before, and I can do it well when I have a warm client. I'm really referring to like straight up cold calling. So with the multi-platform lead generation, I kind of set a quota for myself. I think to myself, well, okay, I don't really like cold calling, but I can do this and I can do it well. So what I need to do is make up for the fact that I don't want to cold call as much by absolutely hitting it as hard as possible in terms of the lead generation through these multiple platforms, right? So I go
Which
very
we
hard
guide
on
you with, by the way, your tracker,
exactly.
right? Yeah.
Exactly. So I use the tracker that's provided, and I make sure to gather tons and tons of emails every single day. And I'm very strict with my quotas on that. Like I make sure to always have new ones coming in. And I also purchase some leads actually pretty cheaply. And I add those into the mix. And not only that, but every single time someone replies, even if they're not interested, what I've learned through my other sales positions is always turn a no or a maybe into a yes later on. So monetize the no's. And so I put them in a separate category, right? And I keep track of them. And then I make sure to keep emailing them once a month to see if maybe they're interested now. And I have notes for each of them. And like the reason maybe they weren't interested yet, but they might be down the line, for instance. And so I don't miss anyone who replies at all. And especially if they reply favorably, I make sure immediately to get on it and get them what they need, if possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And here's another free tip for people watching. Think about if you started in January and you had no book of business. But then as you continued to work, the people who were no's today, but a yes in February or March or April or May and so on, and you record that information, well, now you're not going into that month cold.
Exactly.
Going into that month with a number of people who want to hear from you that you've already developed a relationship with in that month. How much harder is it to start off with nothing than to go into a month where you actually have business? Now consider renewals of people you've already funded, referrals of people you've successfully funded who are happy with your service and want to share that experience with other people, and they come to you. This is known as building your book of business. And having a book of business that's active, that continues to build, is where your stability comes from and ultimately your success, right? It really comes down to your ability to build and maintain your book of business. And the success for Kevin has been consistency, which is a word we used from day one with you, right? Be consistent. And you've accepted that challenge and excelled. And that's why we talk every day. Because there's people who come through the program who don't do that. We don't talk every day. And it's not because we're not available. It's because they're not doing what they're supposed to do. And it's not unlike going to the gym, right? I want to get in shape and go to the gym. Well, did you show up today? Did you sleep last night? Did you eat right? Did you cut out the sugar, stop the smoking, stop the drinking? Did you fight through the pain of, oh man, my body's sore? Did you continue to show up and fight through the pain? Did you shock the muscle? Did you do all the things necessary to become that person? Well, not everybody does, which is why everybody's not in amazing shape, right? But those that are, it's amazing to see, you know? And so this is no different, right? And so for anybody wanting to get involved in this, ask yourself, you know, are you willing to accept the challenge? Because if you are, this is what it looks like and it sounds like. And it's a work in progress. We're not done. We're in the fray. We're in the middle of it, man. Yeah. Right?
100%.
Yeah.
We have something to discuss on the deal after this call.
Yep.
Even, you know, that we're going to see what we can do for this new guy.
Yeah, exactly right. We need to get on the phone with the guy and we need to see if we can cut through the objection or get more substance behind the short response, right? Because we can never take no as an answer. And we also, and this is actually a lesson, and we'll look to phase the call out soon because we've been going for a while, but this is a lesson I've been trying to teach you, and that is don't create obstacles for yourself when you talk to clients, right? And so, which is a natural occurrence as you learn something new and you try to qualify, but ultimately you want to make sure that you don't adjust the mindset of the borrower to say to themselves, this isn't worth it. Oh, I shouldn't put time into this or send this over. Their mindset is a very important part of the piece of the puzzle. So you always have to be thinking about how you're incentivizing them to do things, how it's in their best interest to provide what you need to help them, right? So in this case, for secured funding, we need to get a look at that asset list and get real estate on there. And it's possible he may have more real estate than he originally let on, right? Because the way he had phrased it to us was, I'm not sure I have enough equity to actually consolidate a loan. But in a single property and multiple properties, is he not willing to use other properties? We don't know. We need to discover. We need to find out. But if we're not willing to discover, if we're not willing to push through, we may there may be an opportunity on the other side of that fence that we never saw because we never looked, we never asked, right? And
exactly.
So,
you don't want to allow his psychological friction to ruin the deal.
Yep.
Right.
Exactly.
When you can help pull him through that.
exactly.
Now, maybe there's a part of it that's uncomfortable for him to confront, right? But if he sees it in a different light
Right.
through a phone call with us, then his mind will suddenly open in a way that it otherwise wouldn't.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
And so that's how I know I'm rubbing off on you, because you are picking these things up now, and one of the first things Kevin said when I met him was, I'm not really very comfortable on the phone, and whatever, but you're so much better at that already, and you have the insight into people and understanding kind of how to pull on these little strings to get what you want, and you're just going to get better and better and better and better at it. And me, I was the same way. I was actually timid and overly professional and would take no for an answer because I didn't want to push. I was not good on the phones. I just, through repetition and lots of time, I got better and better and better to a point where I can actually teach people how to do this stuff, But it takes time and consistency and repetition. And that's what
Exactly.
Kevin, and that's why Kevin's getting results. So anyway, Kevin, we're going to look to wrap the call up here now. I really do appreciate you hopping in and doing this and sharing the experience. To anybody who may be on the fence about joining Ion Capital Solutions, what would you say to them?
What I would say is that if you're not interested in loan brokering itself, then maybe I could understand. But if you are at all interested in the field, I can't think of a better place to go. Is kind of what I'm thinking. It's like if you can't succeed through this program, is kind of given how much support you get, it's just that the industry is not for you, in my opinion, because I can't think of a way that they could make it easier for you to get started. So yeah, that's basically what I have to say.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that, and it was a great compliment. Yes, support. We're all about support here, So if you're trying to do this thing on your own at home, and you're struggling, or you join another program and you just feel like you're not getting the results you like, if you'd like somebody to be there and work with you and help you achieve results and be able to have the experiences that a person like Kevin is having and develop the knowledge that Kevin's developing, all you got to do is pick up the phone and give us a call. So anyway, thanks for watching, Kevin. Thanks again for being here. We really appreciate it. Everybody at home, best of luck out there, business loan brokers. Kevin, we got to hop on a call, man. We got a client to call, right?
Exactly.
All right, everybody. Take care. Thanks so much.